Hello, welcome to our next module, Vernacular Dance and also World Dance. In this module, we are going to look at a couple of questions. Remember that these essential questions, these questions at the beginning of the module, are the questions you need to be able to answer to be successful in the quiz. Remember also that you have a guide to help you along in this process. So every module comes with a guide that is a sample of the lecture with some places for you to write in responses. And you also have a resource sheet that has links to different videos that are reflective of this module. So questions and tasks. We want to be able to objectively document dance forms. Notice the use of the term objective. We're not a critic. I'm not asking you what's good or bad. I'm asking you to record the thing. Historian, right? History, record the thing. Define culture. What are folk/vernacular dances, also known as social dances? How and why are the terms folk dance, social dance, and vernacular dance synonymous? Where do these dances exist? How do folk, vernacular, or social dance, use whichever term you prefer, differ from codified techniques? What are the purposes of these types of dances? Are religious dances considered vernacular dance? What are some examples of vernacular dances? What are some types of social, vernacular, or folk dances? And what are examples of world dance forms? I want to begin by looking at looking at the term culture. By definition, culture is the customs, the arts, the social institutions, and intellectual achievements of a particular group of people, a nation, or a social group. Notice the use of the term group. So when you're looking at a culture, you're looking at a group of people and you're looking at their belief systems, their values, their social institutions, their intellectual achievements. So what do you have as proof of that society's intelligence? That also includes arts. Um, Under the umbrella of arts lies dance. So we don't have to say art and culture because, as you see in this definition, art is a product of a culture, right? Dance is a product of a culture, a product of a group. Just a reminder that culture encompasses all of these things, and we are looking at the physical manifestation of that culture, the art representation of that culture, the dance of a culture, the dance of a group. So I like to dance. That was loud. I've been dancing for close to 4 decades at this point, and sometimes I dance a little too much. So in this next video, this is a video of me dancing, and I'm actually injured in this video. I'm actually injured in that video with an injury called turf toe, which I've heard ruins your football career. But I love it. And I love it because I am a collector of stories. I love stories, I love narratives, and I love looking at how those things connect. I enjoy West African dance, so we're going to step into this by looking at Africa because it's relative to my experience. So Africa is a continent, um, and as a continent, it contains more than 50 countries and more than 1,000 languages. It's populated by at least 3,000 ethnic groups. Each ethnic group contains its own culture, and as a result of that, each ethnic group contains its own dance forms. So one of my mentors used to say there's no such thing as African dance because that would be such a vague term. You have to look at there are multiple different West African dance forms or African dance forms. So within that space, dance techniques, let me go back. All forms of dance have a technique. Let's be really clear with the language that we use. A technique can be defined as an efficient way to perform a thing. So whether that technique is cutting tomatoes, whether that technique is driving, whatever it is, it's the efficient way of doing the thing. All dance forms have technique. Techniques generally evolve as a reflection of that culture. So if this is a group of people that tend to live near the water, then some of their dances might revolve around water, aspects of water. If this is a dance, this is a group of people that tend to walk around and have like in versus driving, their dance forms tend to be a little quicker in pace because they're walking. So just little the techniques evolve out of everyday life. Therefore, there are many different techniques around the world because of how many people inhabit the world, how many groups of people inhabit the world, how many cultures and subcultures there are in the world. I'm an American, but I'm from the West. I'm sorry, I'm from the East Coast. So a subculture that I belong to is East Coast culture. A subculture that I belong to is Baltimore City culture. A subculture that I belong to, we can keep breaking it down, is to the Ajanku family on one side of my family, to the Dixon family on another side. So each of the cultures that we identify with, groups of people that we identify with, will have a dance form or some type of movement expression. Our goal is to objectively observe the dance forms and techniques and document them. Notice again the use of the term objectively, and that is because each society is going to have a different value system. Not to say that there won't be any overlap, but what one group of people values might not be the same. So within that, what's defined as successful, good or bad, is going to be different. Your job in this course is not to say what's good or bad, but rather to objectively document. I want to bring up this idea of ethnicity versus race. Um, I did bring up ethnic groups, and some of us in the course know specifically which ethnic group that we belong to. And some of us lean a little closer into race. But I also want to point out that as you see in the lower column, and I hope that you've taken this time to look at this, race presumes a shared biological or genetic traits, whether actual or asserted. In the early 19th century, racial differences were ascribed significance in areas of intelligence, health, and personality. There is no evidence validating these ideas, right? So this caption is taken from a larger chart. Please feel free to visit this site and to get further information into this idea of race and ethnicity. But I do want us to be conscious as we use these terms, especially when we get to things like the jazz unit. In the jazz unit, um, it's mentioned that in one of our documentaries, someone says you couldn't make those types of uh, comments when Irish people or Italian people were sitting in the front. But at that time, Irish people and Italian people, at the time that this person was referring to, they were not considered white. They were considered other. They were a part of, they were considered other. So just understanding that that things change, country lines change, groupings change. So we want to be as specific as possible when we're identifying things, and that is why sometimes people lean towards ethnicity versus race. Techniques often develop from everyday life. We'll take a look at this going back to my experience of West African dance. And I'm leaning into this because your next module, I'm sorry, your next TAT, your takeaway ticket number 7, has to deal with this thing. So if we're looking at West African dance forms, here's a couple of examples. Fanga, also spelled Fanga. When we look at that form, it's grounded. It has high knees, contractions of the torso, and gestural movements. It has a purpose of welcoming. It's performed by the Vai people in Liberia. But if we go down to Senegal and we look at Sabar, this movement is not necessarily grounded. It's more circular in movement, it's syncopated, and it has characteristics of relaxed hips. Then when we come over to Zaoli, a dance form coming out of Cote d'Ivoire, this is a percussive dance form, and it's more of a grounded stance. There's a direct communication between the musician and the dancer in this case. It is a mass dance, a masquerade, where the dancer is encouraging the musician to play a specific thing, calling. So there's more of a call and response dialogue between the musician and the dancers in this space. So these are all all of these forms fit under the umbrella of West African dance forms. They all originate from very different ethnic groups, and they all have different characteristics. And this is why, as we go on, it makes it a challenge to give hard characteristics of vernacular dance forms. So in my experience, I like to dance techniques that come from the Mali Empire. This is contextual information that you will need for your TAT number 7. So I hope that you are taking notes. The Malenke Empire started in around the 13th century under the rule of Sunjata Keita. It was an alliance of various ethnic groups, and this was because there was a lord, a warlord, a person. Different terms can be attached to Sumanguru's character. But essentially what happened is these people were fighting or trying to defend themselves against Sumanguru. And in order to do that, they came together, offering up different fortes of different groups. Like if your group was known to be good blacksmith and iron workers, then you helped build tools. If your group was good at farming, then you helped and you taught other people to farm. So this collective of the multiple ethnic groups became the Malenke Empire, what we know was the Malenke Empire. And I want you to think back to that definition of ethnic group where it says they are joined by a social experience or direct a blood lineage. So Malenke is, excuse me, I just hit the headphones. Malenke is a larger ethnic group that contains many ethnic groups because of this social event, which is the coming together of the different groups. One of my favorite dances is this dance called Ingrid. To the best of my ability, as we're looking at dance forms, we will look at the who, what, where, when, and why. This is a continuation of the contextual knowledge. So now you know how the Malenke Empire came about, and now you're going to look at the history of the form, this Ingrid technique. What is it? It's Ingrid. It comes from the Bambara people. It's in its inception, in its origin stories, it was done the night before the wedding in the Wassalon region, and it's a commemorative dance that showcases a skill. In your reading, the functions of dances are listed. So this dance actually falls into commemorative, continued narrative of the dance. So the continued history of this form, right? Because this is dance history. Sorry, you're going to hear my bangles. This dance was originally done by the Bamana people, Bambara, Bamana, same thing. Um, People of the Wassalon region, and it was played on the Bari orchestra. Those are the drums that are listed, and it's usually danced by older women to showcase the fact that they were in Wassalon. It's a dance by the older women to show that they can still jump. Excuse me, that they can still jump. But in Bamako, it's danced as a part of the Demba Foley festival celebration. That Demba Foley celebration is that night before you marry. Now, why is this important? So, going into furthering the notion of what Deidre Scalar gives us in the 5 principles, you can enjoy a dance just by watching it. You can enjoy the bigger things of it, like if it's happy, you can see on the dancers' faces and their impression that they're conveying happiness to you. But the subtleties of the dance will go over your head unless you understand the culture. So we're going deeper into that narrative to understand why Ingrid, why is this a thing? So Ingrid loosely translates to jump like an antelope, and the antelope is excuse me, the antelope is symbolic in Mandinka. No, so I also want you to know that Mandinka, Malinke, Manding, Mande, these are all synonymous terms. And I'm offering the different spellings of them because if you decide to do further research, you might see some of these other terms, right? And I offer that to you to say it depends when you're doing research. The language of the person that's writing the research will oftentimes dictate the spelling of the thing. So in Mandinka, in Malinke culture, the antelope is symbolic because it's believed to have taught the people about agriculture. So in looking at the animal, they learned this thing, right? So thinking back to our dance and religion module, as they talked about dances of imitation, dances of animals, right? So seeing these connections in this space also. It's also important because in the story of Sunjata Keita, prior to Sunjata or Sundiata, prior to Sunjata actually being born, a prophecy was given. A prophecy was given that Sunjata would be this great person. And this prophecy was given to Sunjata's father via a hunter. A hunter was out hunting, he kills an antelope, and a part of the culture was if this animal was killed on your land, then you have to offer a present to the person whose land it belongs to. So the hunter offers this prophecy to Sunjata's father, this prophecy that Sunjata, he will have a son and his son will be a great man. So it is believed that this antelope, that antelope holds this symbolic value because not only did it teach the people to or about agriculture, it also holds within it this space of the animal's life is what brought about the telling of the prophecy, is what brought about Sunjata, making sure that Sunjata made it into to be born, and the Malenke Empire made it to be itself. If you've never heard of the Malenke Empire before, you've probably heard of Mali, and you probably have heard of Timbuktu. So just as a reference point, or if you would like to do more research. So in your TAT number 7, you are going to see this video from me. It's taken from some of my consultant work because outside of the university, I am still a professional dancer. I do still teach. I do mentoring of other dancers and educators. You're going to watch this video and you are going to use it to complete TAT number 7. In TAT number 7, you're asked to create a 2-paragraph video analysis. Your video analysis includes one paragraph. Notice the use of the word paragraph. That means a minimum of 5 sentences. The first paragraph is contextual knowledge about Ingrid. It's written in your own words. Stay away from plagiarism. Stealing other people's words is illegal. It is a crime, punishable. Let's just leave it at ... Write in your own words. This also shows me that you're understanding the concept because you can talk about the thing. Write in your own words. Talk about the origin story or the narratives that were given. This paragraph also includes information that you think might be helpful to the reader. So you are writing as a historian, you are creating a document that holds the history of how this dance form came about and the people that it came from. That's the first paragraph. You're writing to someone. Imagine that you're writing to someone that's not me. You're writing in a way that teaches the reader. This is a good place to also, if you do additional research, meaning you've already used the information from our course that was offered to you through this lecture and through the reading as the foundation. But if you do additional research, meaning you search the internet, books, you talk to people and things like that, make sure that you cite those sources at the bottom of this at the bottom. Make sure you cite your sources. In your second paragraph, here's the content. You are recording in written form, you're archiving in written form what you watched in the video. This is a well-written paragraph that contains 5 based sentences. So go back to earlier in the course, you learned your pre-writing task, right? In your pre-writing task, you created 5 based lists. Each list breaks down a singular movement into its fundamentals, its elements of dance. Now take that list. So watching the video, you create 5 lists. Take your 5 lists, generate 1 sentence per list. Some of you have already done this and are doing a really great job of this. So now you create 1 sentence per list. That will give you a total of 5 sentences. That's an excellent foundation for a paragraph. You want to go a little further because a well-written paragraph flows one sentence to the next. It has connecting words. So that's how you make it a well-written paragraph. Look at the flow. Look at the fluency. Is there too much repetition? Does every sentence start the same way? Make it flow. Make it a nice paragraph. So you're working on developing your writing skills. So the second paragraph records, it archives the experience. So working as this dance historian, you gave the history of the dance form, and then you historically recorded the experience. Please let me know prior to the due date if you need any help with this assignment via emails in the Canvas platform. And let me know. It's okay to say, Professor Maya, I would prefer a Zoom meeting with you versus an email. Let me know what you need because I want you to be successful, right? And I want you to, part of being successful is letting people know, being strong enough to say, I needed some assistance. So please, let's do this. Have a blessed day.